Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. Today, I want to dissect the Bournemouth game. I know that might be painful for some of you, but unfortunately, the Bournemouth match is the tipping of the iceberg, really, for a run of form that is completely unacceptable. Some would say that Chelsea are in a crisis right now. 5 games without a win is quite often the kind of run of form that gets Chelsea fans and rival fans and football pundits and just football people in general, really, taking a look at Chelsea and thinking, oh dear, is this the beginning of the end for the manager? It's happened so many times. And look, I'm going to say it right out the gate here now because I know that people will hear that and they'll take that as, Benson is on the Maresca out brigade now. Absolutely not. I've seen enough of Enzo Maresca in the first 6 months of his professional tenure as Chelsea manager and in pre-season as well. I was out there in America looking at the way that he was working in press conferences. And I've always liked the guy. I really have. But recently, the changes, or maybe the squad quality, but particularly the in-game control and management, or lack of, has become a severe issue for Chelsea Football Club. We're going to go through, look at the player ratings, look at the momentum chart that tells us a lot, really, about this game in general, because it's quite shocking. We're going to move into it straight away here. As you can see, 2-2 it finishes. Reece James, 95th minute, gets the equaliser for Chelsea. 50th and 68th minute goals for Bournemouth. If we take a little look at this, which is the attack momentum chart, it won't get bigger for some reason, but look at this. Chelsea in the first half. There's a little spell here from Bournemouth just after Chelsea score. And I think this is actually worth talking about in itself, because when I look at the way that we came out at the beginning of the second half, which again, let me just cut it back once more. The second half kicks off, Chelsea first couple of minutes looking good, but then Bournemouth get the penalty and we're flat for like a 15-minute period of the game. Why is it Chelsea go 1-0 up and immediately pressure comes on from the opposition? I don't understand how. If you look at this again here, the whole of the first half is Chelsea dominance. And look, it really is as simple is if Nicholas Jackson converts those chances, we've probably won the match at half time. The problem is Nicholas Jackson doesn't finish those chances. So we're not just going to sit here and say, well, it's all the fault of Nicholas Jackson. Nicholas Jackson isn't good enough. Chelsea need another striker. I'll say this right now. Chelsea do need another striker. If we're going to keep getting the ball out to our wingers, crossing it into the box, corners, bloody hell, we made a £1 million signing for a set-piece specialist from Brentford in the summer. We can't score goals from corners unless Tosin's on the flipping pitch or Disassi. And we know how bad he is and we're sending him to Italy. So Chelsea from corners, there's no existing threat there whatsoever. So the problem with Chelsea right now, bringing it back to this momentum chart, we score and then invite pressure straight away. Second half comes out, concede a goal, and then little spell after Bournemouth score that goal. But there was never really any time, as the fly goes after me there's not any time in that second half where I felt comfortable. Even at 1-1, I'm like, we're going to lose this. At 2-1 Bournemouth, we're going to lose this. And then we relied on a brilliant piece of individual magic from our captain to basically save our blushes, to make this video slightly less aggressive than it would have been had Bournemouth won that match. I was livid in the live stream. But the real issue is about how Chelsea take their feet off the gas. Now, the fact that we've got such a young squad should mean that the players have got the legs to run around like madmen for 90 minutes. I think it's a mentality issue. It's definitely not about fitness. People are saying, the players are so tired. We've got so much control of the ball, the majority of matches that we play. How on earth, after 45 minutes of a game, can we say that the players are tired? Why have Bournemouth got more energy than us? They're having to run around. Chelsea were running them ragged in that first half. But let's take a little look. Player of the match here, Mark Travers, 8.3 rating. Was rather it would be Kepa in goal, to be quite honest. But when you see this as well, 81 minutes, you bring on flipping Netflix. The Portuguesers, Pedro Neto, João Felix coming on with 9 minutes to go. Noni was almost non-existent in the second half. I thought he was good in the first half, but why are we waiting this long to make substitutions? It's something that earlier this season, I called Maresca out on it in a positive way. I had nothing but praise to give to Enzo Maresca for the way that Chelsea would walk out in a second half And if we weren't quite up to the high tempo standards that we would expect, we would turn it up a gear or two at the start of the second half. Today, or yesterday in that draw against Bournemouth, we took it to minus gears. We literally were broken down completely. Let's take a little look here at these sofa score ratings. Cole Palmer, the highest rated Chelsea player with an 8.0. Enzo Fernandez, who I actually did think was very good, but again, got sloppy in the second half. Looked exhausted, giving the ball away. I don't get this. Lavia gets a 6.6. I think that's a little bit unfair. I think the yellow card's got something to do with that. Caicedo a 6.4. If we take a look here at the average positions for Chelsea today, when you're looking at that, there's a lot of heavy dominance down the right-hand side of the pitch, which for me made no sense, really, considering Milos Kerkesh is a really, really competent defender. I think Noni actually did well to beat him a couple of times. Kerkesh is a really, really good player. But when you look back here again, there's little to no movement down that left-hand side. A lot of centralness here. Centralness? That's not a word, but we're going to roll with that anyway. Enzo playing a lot more advanced. Lavia being in there enables Chelsea in that first half to have that midfield control. And that was the major thing. As soon as Lavia went off the field, yes, there's a mistake leading up to the penalty, but as soon as Lavia goes off the pitch, the whole shape of things completely changes. There are huge gaps that Chelsea weren't filling. The press just wasn't really there. And as well as that, the fluidity, confidence, and precision with what we were doing on the ball just completely and utterly disappeared. If you look here, come the end of the game, these are the average positions. Pedro Neto spending pretty much most of his time in the middle of the field. You got Reece James hugging this area here. He was advancing a lot more too. Tosin came on and enabled Reece to get further up the field. But right now at Chelsea, we have to address and we have to home in on this issue that is the changeover. What is it about these halftime team talks which has made it go to the peakest of Pochettino times? I don't understand. There were countless times last season where Chelsea would come out and again, whatever good start we'd have, we would capitulate. That is the word of the moment. It's a capitulation. Fulham was exactly the same. Boxing Day, I'm like, well, Palmer scores a great goal. And then we capitulate again. And our last 4 goals that we've scored in these 5 matches, which, by the way, we should have won all of these on paper. Based on the way that we were playing, there's no reason why Everton, Palace, Fulham, Ipswich and Bournemouth were the banana skins. Fulham are a good team, decent side. Bournemouth are a very good team. Other than that, we should be beating all of them. Realistically, we should have won all of those games. We got 3 points out of a possible 15. And now we got Newcastle, City breathing down our necks. And whatever remote talk there was of title races is now, can we even hold on to the top 4? You got Nottingham Forest and Liverpool dropping points. Arsenal in a North London derby. Man City capitulating a 2-goal lead. Like, we're so lucky that this isn't and wasn't worse than it actually was. You see here with the substitutions as well. Reece James and Tosin getting very good ratings. Justin Kluivert as well. Don't want to say I told you so, but I did say he was going to be a nail or a thorn in Chelsea's side. When we look at the overall possession, Chelsea, 57%. This is a big problem, guys. Expected goals, 2.5. Now, you know that I've not always been the biggest fan of XG, but realistically, I think Jackson could have had a hat-trick if he puts his foot through that chance in the second half, instead of taking too long with the side of his foot. I think he scores. If it doesn't hit his face, but he actually heads it properly, he scores. If he just gets his body over the ball and anticipates a dodgy bounce from Noni, he scores. He's ended up with 0 goals. So as much as I don't want to just completely blame Nicholas Jackson here, if Jackson was a more clinical striker, we're talking about 3 points. We're not talking about a potential crisis. And the reason I think it could be seen right now as a crisis is purely because these are the games we should be winning. And in a few weeks' time, we've got Wolves at home at the weekend. We've got to win that. And even they're a lot better now than when we played them at the Molineux. Then we go to Man City away. Then you start introducing Conference League back in. We've got Brighton away in the FA Cup 4th round as well, which is absolutely no easy feat. Chelsea could be in a position where we've actually killed our own season here. I want to take a look at the first half because as much as the possession is a lot closer, Chelsea had more of the ball in the second half because we were chasing the game, if you can call it that. But look at this. We should have been home and host at half-time. Absolutely. 5 big chances and only 1 goal. And it was a beautiful goal at that from Cole Palmer, but still. Keeper makes 4 saves. We've had lots of corners. Done nothing with it. Take a look at the second half. Still 4 corners. No big chances in the second half. What happens to the creativity? And the creativity of this team stems from the fact that if we don't do anything on the wings, Jackson doesn't finish in the middle, if it doesn't go through Cole Palmer and Cole Palmer doesn't shoot and score, we don't do anything. We rely on a moment from the captain, free kick, dead ball, 95th minute of the game. We're relying on that to even get us a point at home to flipping Bournemouth. So when we bring it back to this and we look at that second half again, how have Chelsea not created a single big chance with 62% possession? How do we go from 1.94 XG in the first half to 0.56 in the second? Considering, for the majority of that, when you look here, 68 minutes is the goal from Semenyo. How, with 22 minutes to go, do we wait until the 81st to change anything going forward when we hadn't created a big chance for the whole of the second half? This is a huge issue. Is it stubbornness from Enzo Maresca, or is it something else that we need to talk about here, where Maresca has looked at the profile of this squad, and earlier this season, up until 5 games ago, things were going really well. We were second in the Premier League. We were scoring goals for fun. And when Chelsea would go behind, if we would go behind, I'll be like, well, we've got the firepower. We look blistering on the wings. And since then, it looks as though Maresca is looking at this squad and maybe he just doesn't fancy the players on the bench. Obviously, with Nkunku, there's a lot of story right now about him going to Bayern. Maybe he's played his last minutes for Chelsea. But Neto, as much as I love Neto, he works really hard. I think Maresca's probably looking at his output this season thinking 3 goal and assists in Premier League football over halfway through the season ain't enough, mate. Jadon Sancho's returns have been good, getting assists, but even he's not scoring lots of goals. And Nicholas Jackson is back to the Jackson of early last season where he can't finish his dinner. So at this point, bringing it back here is Cole Palmer FC. That is a huge problem. If you score 4 goals in 5 games against Everton, Palace, Ipswich, Fulham, Bournemouth, and Palmer's getting 3 of them, and the other one is from Reece James, a player that's never fit scoring a free kick, there is a huge problem here. It is a massive, massive issue. And I think the biggest problem, really, is that we don't even look like scoring. The urgency just isn't there. So I want to know here, is it about the personnel? Is it a case now where we look at a lot of the players in this squad, and I think it's mutually agreed now. As fans, we probably looked at Dewsbury Hall thinking, what is that signing? I think everybody now sees that he's got no future at Chelsea. He's going to go. Disasi, probably going to go. Mudryk, unfortunate, but still not been good enough in the Prem anyway. He's going to go. Nkunku, going to go. My big question is, what are we going to do about that? Renato Vega wants to play more regular minutes as a starter in centre-back. Probably going to go. Are we going to replace these guys? My voice is completely cracked there. Let me just take a little sip. Are we going to do anything to replace these guys? Look at the league table. We're 4th. Newcastle have a game in hand with 5 wins in a row, including an FA Cup one in that. So that's 6, 7 maybe, I think, because they beat Carabao Cup Arsenal. They're 35 points. They're going to go ahead of us. We're going to drop out of the top 4. City are unbeaten again in 4. We've not won in 5. This is absolutely abysmal. It's shocking. And my big concern about this transfer window is if we lose all of these players, what do we do if there becomes an injury to Cucurella? What on earth do we do? If there's an injury to Reece James again or Gusto, which is not really something that you could say is not going to happen. It's very likely based on history, based on what we know about these players' injury records. It's likely. What if something happens to Caicedo? Lavia can't stay fit for more than 1 in 6 games. We have got an issue. We've got a massive issue, and we're going to go from being the laughing stock that had 50-odd players. It was a big exaggeration from the media, but we do have a big squad. We've been fielding different teams on Thursdays to the weekends. It's a luxury. It's great. But the reality is we can't rely on any of those players in the Prem because they're either not good enough or Maresca doesn't fancy them. So with that being said, if we're going to sell 5 or 6, we better flip and replace them. Otherwise, this league table, which if the league finished right now, I'll be biting your flipping hand off for that chance because we're 4th in the Prem, back in the Champions League. Scored 41 goals. We were league top scorers a few weeks ago. That's long gone now. Even Tottenham have got more goals than us this season, and they got a game in hand as well. What do we do about replacing the players that we know aren't good enough and that are probably going to be loaned or sold in this January window? The squad right now, once those players have gone, is paper thin. But even if they don't go, because they've not been anywhere near the squad all season, can we rely on any of them to come in and change any of this? So this is really now going to be on Maresca to actually come up with a different kind of strategy, because I think Chelsea have been found out. I think the way that we were playing earlier this season, for whatever reason, mental concentration has gone. I said it in the 6 Things We Learnt video, and I know this has been quite like an aggressive delivery video, but I really think we're in trouble, guys. I do. I seriously do. Transfer market-wise, squad quality-wise, and Maresca's seeming stubbornness to not want to try and change anything. Lack of ability from set pieces to score goals, corners in the Prem. We can only do it against the minnows in Europe. We can only do it against your Morecambes. You know what I mean? So right now, Chelsea are under serious pressure. The question is, what are we actually going to do to change it? If we take another look here at the shots, I mean, look, it's insane. There's so many shots. You can see here, this is like a flipping earthquake under an active volcano. You got tremors left, right, and centre, but these aren't really tremors. You got that goal from Palmer, and you got that beauty from Reece James with an XG of 0.06, which is absolutely brilliant. But like, look at this, Nicholas Jackson, Noni Madueke. Like, I don't know how the XG of these chances is as low as this, but like 0.49, he's got to score. Header, call it a flipping nose goal or whatever. Like, I don't care what part of the body it hits, mate. Just put the ball in the back of the net. And for Chelsea right now, it's just become very, very predictable. The football has become monotonous. It's become the same. The kind of combinations that we were seeing earlier this season have gone. Granted, it was a brilliant goal. Jackson, through ball, brilliant work in the build-up to Palmer. But Nicholas Jackson, we can't let off the fact that we should have scored another 2 or 3 goals in this game, and it should have been him to bury them. So I think looking forward now, I don't want this video to just be like a bashing of the manager, bashing of the players. I'm really annoyed with this Bournemouth result, purely because we just threw it away again. And the manager's got to see this is happening week on week, and he's got to do something. As a club, we need to get ourselves an outright target man up front, a striker that will convert these chances, because we create them. But then even then, once we created them and missed a load of them, everyone's just chilling out. That is wrong. That is an awful mentality, and that has to change, and the chance conversion has to change as well. And it's easier said than done. We can all sit here, me in front of the camera, and say, I'd have scored that, should have scored that. But like, I'm not just going to let people get away with that anymore. Nicholas Jackson, 5 games without a goal. It's not good enough. He's getting the chances too. He's gone back to what we saw at times last season where he couldn't hit a barn door. It's laughable sometimes, but we've got to change that this weekend. It's Wolverhampton Wanderers at home on Monday night under the lights at the Bridge. Revitalise Wolves. My hair's getting a bit long, isn't it? Revitalise Wolverhampton Wanderers. New manager. They've been a lot better, but we should absolutely be beaten them. We have to win. We are under so much pressure now, and I think we're going to need to address it in this January window. I think we still need a centre-back. I don't think the defence was bad. I think Colwell had a great game. I think Reece had a really good game when he came on. Josh Atchampong was also good until he wasn't. Do you know what I mean? But right now, Chelsea absolutely need to improve. If you look at this as well, we actually did win the majority of our tackles. 75% of our tackles were won compared to the 56 of Bournemouth. But overall, as much as we can't demise the fact the referee had a stinker, Bournemouth should have been down to 10 men, and then at the end they should have had 9. But still, Chelsea have got to beat what's put in front of them. We can't use that as excuses when we are so much still in charge and control of our own destiny, but we're not doing enough. Get me a striker, please. Get me some backup for players that are going to leave, please. Just in case we're in another position where injuries riddle us. Can't do anything about it, but we spent billions. It's not good enough. Let me know your thoughts on what needs to change in the comments down below. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's not been too negative, but I think we've got to address the reality here. We're struggling. We're in a really bad patch of form, and it has to change now. It had to change before the Bournemouth result, but now it's absolutely win, or I dread to even think what we're going to say if we don't beat Wolves. I really do dread it, so I'm not even going to entertain it for now. Come on, you Blues.